DJI Avata 2 drone is here with a better camera, longer flight time, easy ACRO mode, and new FPV Goggles 3 with built-in cameras. The drone just arrived, so let's take a look what's in the box. Everything's in the bag. That's perfect. That's a bigger bag than what I'm usually used to with DJI drones. But that's to be expected with the Avata. So the new goggles are here. What else is here? The battery charger, and finally the drone. That's the DJI Avata 2. I need to remove that. One more thing, what's in the bag? I think that's a new version. It's very compact. Motion 3 controller. I'm happy to say that DJI also sent us the regular controller, which is the FPV Remote Controller 3, so it's a new version. So I'll test both. The new DJI Avata 2 is the third FPV drone from DJI. After the first try with the DJI FPV, the company then announced the Avata 1 back in 2022. And now we have the 2. The Avata 2 brings various improvements when compared with the first generation. It still keeps the 3-inch propellers, but the body is slightly larger and still has the propeller guards. Despite the body being slightly larger, the takeoff weight of the drone went down by more than 30 grams. The first Avata had a takeoff weight of 410 grams, and the new Avata 2 has only 377. The good thing is that DJI also somehow managed to make the new Avata quieter. As they say here on the sticker on the Avata, they claim it produces only 81 decibels. Another change is that the first Avata had a so-called pusher configuration of the motors. So the motors were upside down with the propellers underneath, and the Avata 2 now has a puller configuration, so the motors are facing upwards with the propellers above them. The sensors are now in a rear position, so they can cover both downwards and backwards obstacles. What I like about the new Avata is the position of the SD card slot and the USB-C port, because now they are really well accessible. With the first Avata, the SD card slot and the USB-C port were hidden in one of the propeller guards, so it was really hard to get to. This is now very easy. The new Avata 2 can fly up to 23 minutes with the new batteries. The first Avata only managed up to 18 minutes, so that's a big improvement. And the battery is now, I would say, more of a standard DJI type of batteries, which kind of slot into the drone. The flight time is of course incomparable with other FPV drones with standard LiPo batteries, which offer usually somewhere between 4 to 8 minutes of flight time. So this is, for an FPV drone, this is really great flight time. The USB-C port on the drone has a fast power delivery charging, so you can charge the battery in the drone. You don't need to use the charging hub if you don't want to. The drone should be able to charge the battery in 1.5 hours. The charging hub is of course a better option to charge the battery because it is faster. You can charge up to 3 batteries. The charging hub also has DJI's power accumulation feature, and this can basically accumulate remaining power from all 3 batteries into one, so you can enjoy a longer flight if you have 3 half-empty batteries or almost empty. I have to say, after flying with other FPV drones, the battery situation with Avata is really cool because DJI's intelligent batteries kind of take care of themselves, right? Even if you fully charge these batteries and then the plans change and you don't go to fly, you don't have to care about that. They will actually automatically discharge to a certain level. With the standard LiPo batteries, this is unfortunately not the case. You need to take care of them. If you charge them and then don't go to fly, you need to bring them back to storage voltage, because otherwise the capacity will go down, and this is much easier with DJI. So the overall experience when it comes to batteries is really great with DJI. Talking about the camera, in the new Avata 2 we now have a larger sensor. It's a 1/1.3 inch 12 megapixel 4x3 sensor, and it has the same specs as the one in the Osmo Action 4, which is a good sensor. It's quite large for this kind of device. The lens is a ultra-wide 13mm equivalent, more or less. The focus of the lens is fixed from 0.6 meters to infinity. When it comes to available frame rates and resolutions, the camera can record up to 4K 60 frames per second 4x3. There is no 4K 120 FPS like with the Osmo Action 4. To get slow motion recording in up to 120 frames per second, you need to tune down the resolution to 2.7K. The good thing is that the Avata 2 also enables you to change sharpness and noise reduction. Sharpness is available between -2 and 2, and noise reduction between -2 and 1. I prefer to keep both of them as low as possible, so both at -2, and I'm applying noise reduction or sharpness in the post-production if I really want to. The drone basically offers two types of stabilization. First of all is the RockSteady stabilization, which is available in most recording modes. I'm usually used to stabilize my footage in the GoPro player because I'm using GoPro cameras, and built-in Real Steady is really nice, but I'm doing everything in the post. With the Avata 2, I have to say the footage that was stabilized in the drone was usually okay. Another stabilization mode is a Horizon Steady. This one will crop significantly in the image, but it will keep horizon level, and it uses the normal field of view. The Horizon Steady does not work in the 4x3 mode, it only works in the 16:9. If you don't want the stabilization to happen in the drone, you have the option. You can turn it off, and then if you use the wide angle shooting mode, the footage will have gyroscopic data embedded, so you can use gyroflow to stabilize the footage in the post-production. On top of the standard 8-bit normal color mode, the Avata also offers the D-Log M mode in H.265 10-bit, which of course offers more flexibility for post-production, and the maximum bitrate is 130 megabits per second. The good thing is that on top of the SD card slot, the Avata 2 now has 48 gigabytes internal storage. The gimbal of the camera, as with the first Avata, is a one-axis gimbal, which allows the camera to tilt up and down. DJI says it's about 90 degrees up and 90 degrees down. I like how they kind of made this protective frame around the gimbal with the rubberized stripes, so if you crash it, it might save the camera, might not, but a light crash probably could save the camera. In normal and sport mode, the gimbal is active, so if your drone will tilt up and down, the gimbal will stabilize the camera. If you switch to manual mode, the gimbal will fix its position relative to the aircraft, so you can set the angle of the gimbal and it will stay that way. That's much more like other FPV drones, which I'm used to fly in fully manual mode, and this is absolutely necessary if you want to do dives and other moves where the camera has to look where the drone flies. When it comes to image transmission, the drone uses new DJI O4. This can send up to 1080p 100 fps signal with 60 megabits bitrate. The good thing is that the DJI O4 supports two frequencies, 2.4 GHz and 5.8 GHz, and it kind of automatically switches between them to ensure the signal will not be lost. And talking about image transmission, that finally gets us to the goggles. The new DJI Goggles 3 feature an internal battery, much like the Goggles Integra, which came with this design. So now it's kind of a all-in-one. The battery is located at the back of the headband. The cable goes through, and the whole goggles weigh 410 grams, and it's supposed to be kind of balanced, that the more or less same weight is in the front and same weight is in the back. DJI claims the integrated battery of the goggles should last for up to 3 hours. From my experience, I usually manage to fly empty all 3 batteries for the drone, and I still had more than 50% battery left in the goggles. So I would say it's more than enough battery life for most people. What DJI also added is this forehead pad. So the goggles now kind of sit on the forehead and not on the eyes anymore. Inside there are 2 micro OLED 1080p displays with diopters that you can adjust. The goggles have internal fans that are cooling down the whole device, and you can also turn on defog feature, which will spin the fans on maximum speed if you have any kind of problems with fog on the lenses. Perhaps the most notable new feature of the goggles are the 2 front-facing cameras, and these 2 cameras enable a new feature called Real View. So this feature enables you to switch between the view from the drone and the view from these 2 cameras. This way you can operate a camera, or you can change the drone's battery without even taking off the goggles. Angle of view is a bit tight for me. I would appreciate if the cameras were a bit more wide angle. Real View is available either in 2D or a 3D view, which uses both cameras. There is also a picture-in-picture mode, which gives you the real view as the main one, and then at the corner you have an image from the drone. This only works in 2D mode. One more cool feature of the goggles is a live view sharing. So the Goggles 3 are able to send an image to a mobile phone, and the image can be sent either via a USB-C cable or wirelessly with Wi-Fi. Getting to the controllers, we have the new DJI RC Motion 3 controller. It is smaller and lighter than the previous generation. It's still not my favorite way to fly the drone. I would say it's more aimed at beginners or people who are looking for a different experience how to control a drone. One of the cool features of the motion controller is that you can navigate through the menus in the goggles. With the motion controller you cannot fly in the manual mode, so it is only available in normal and sport mode. There is a new cool feature with the motion control, and that's the easy ACRO mode. With the joystick, simply by tapping a button or basically moving the joystick to one side, you can make the drone do flips, side flips, front, back flips. It's a cool feeling that the drone can now do that automatically. The other more serious controller, the FPV Remote Controller 3, is also redesigned. So now the antenna is hidden inside, so the controller is more compact. I prefer this controller because I fly other FPV drones. I'm used to working with the sticks. There is again the rocker that changes between modes, normal, sport and manual. The manual mode is not activated by default. It's a safety measure. You need to go in the goggles in the menu of the controller and activate the manual mode. The system will ask you if you are really sure you want to do it. I would recommend, if you really want to try the manual mode, please first spend some hours in the simulator, train, because if you are not experienced in manual mode, you will crash the drone for sure. It's better to crash a virtual drone in simulator, believe me. If you get into trouble flying manual mode, you just switch the rocker back to sport or normal mode and the drone will just stop and hover in place. When it comes to price, you can either get the Avata 2 with a single battery, and this set with the goggles and with the motion controller will cost you $999. And if you want to get the Fly More combo with 3 batteries and the charging hub, you will have to pay $200 more. The FPV remote controller always has to be purchased separately. DJI is not including it in any of the sets, and it's being sold for $199. Last but not least, DJI will also sell an ND filter set with the drone for $79. Conclusion: I have to admit I really like the DJI Avata 2 drone. I enjoyed flying with it. I have to say the footage is actually really nice. Which is not a surprise for me because I already liked the footage from the Osmo Action 4. I really like how the Avata 2 offers flying modes for every skill level. If you're a beginner, you can fly it in normal or sport mode. The drone is not going to crash by itself, it's gonna hover in place. In sport mode, you can actually reach reasonable speeds too, even as a beginner. Obviously you need to take care as the drone does not have front-facing sensors. If you are pro, you can fly fully manual mode, and the footage is really usable. I like how easy it is to fly this drone, right? Like my other FPV drones, I have to really take care of the batteries. I have to make sure the GoPro is connected. It gets power, all the cables are connected. This just, you take it, go out and fly. It's very easy. The Avata 2 kind of makes me want to stop putting GoPros on my FPV drones. What is your impression of the Avata 2? Do you think it's good enough to use for professional work, for cinematic work? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to CineD for more news and reviews. The NAB is right around the corner. There is a lot of new stuff coming, so take care and see you around.